Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Tikit eMarketing Virtual User Group, hosted by Adam Mitchie. My name is David, and I'm your event manager. During the presentation, your lines will remain on listen only, but if you require assistance at any time, just key *0 on your telephone. I would like to advise all parties this conference is being recorded, and now I'd like to hand over to Adam. Please go ahead.
Thanks very much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody joining us today. This is the Tikit eMarketing Virtual User Group, and the purpose for today really is to keep you guys up to date and informed about recent developments and future developments, and to also give you a bit of a sense of excitement as to what is to come over the next few months. And there we go. So, just to give you a quick introduction, my name is Adam Mitchie. I am the product manager for the marketing and business development ecosystem, which obviously includes Tikit eMarketing. And today I'm going to take you through some of our recent developments. So that will be enhancements made to the product since version 6.4, which was released at the back end of 2018. I'm also going to give you guys a bit of a sneak peek of the 6.5 release, which is due in the next couple of months. And I'll also go through some of the future developments that are coming over the next sort of 6 to 12 months further down the line. I'm also joined today by Simon Elvin, the Commercial and Marketing Director here at Tikit, and he's going to be taking you through the marketing and business development ecosystem. And lastly but not leastly is Jason Thorne's joined us as one of our senior business consultants to talk about our cloud offering and eMarketing as a managed service. So hopefully in the next hour you will leave a lot more informed than you were when you joined. So first and foremost, some of our recent developments, and these are not an exhaustive list, but just some of the highlights since version 6.4 was released. We have our inline editor style selection, so you can now update your styles from within the inline editor when you're in the email design section. Additionally, we have the alignment with Word font sizes for emails and forms, a similar pop-up there within the inline editor. So these are your Word sizes and how they correspond to our own sizings. Thirdly, we have the improved email campaign and reporting grid readability. So depending on what screen you're looking at, you will get a nice full grid view of the table there. We have introduced recently the pure HTML handling for email design. So it should be a reasonably simple interface whereby you select to use pure HTML. This then overrides the need for an outline. You can then select an HTML file and drop that in, and that will cover off the full design of your email, including any tokens or whatever you might have within that HTML. You can also opt to sort of jump into that HTML as you would normally and make edits directly in the editor view there as well. But for those of you who do have third-party designers or HTML specialists within your teams, you can do this instead of using the outlines. We have introduced for, additional security around our forms, the Google Recaptcha. So what you see here is our configuration screen. So if you do have your site key, etc., you can introduce that captcha. And for those who aren't familiar with what a Recaptcha is, I'll be surprised if you aren't. It's this thing down the bottom where you tell them that you're a human and you're not a robot. We also have the bounce back treatment as attachments. So for those who may be using such firms as SendGrid to handle those bounce backs, where they come in as attachments, previously the bounce back reasoning wasn't being read and wasn't making its way through to CRM. Now what we do is a process that allows firstly for the bounce back itself to be read, and then if it is an attachment, we then process the attachment in the same way to pull out that information. And lastly, at the bottom there, we have performance improvements for marked contacts. That's for those in a high latency network. and specifically for those who want to deal with very, very, very large, we're talking thousands of contacts in your list, that can now handle things much, much better. So that's 6.4. That's 6.4.1 to 6.4.5, I should say. I'm now going to take you through a bit of a sneak preview of our 6.5, and the first thing you'll notice is a new look and feel. So gone is the green colour scheme, and in its place is this much kinder on the eyes Tikit blue. The layout, as you can see, is absolutely the same. The grid views and the landing page, all very, very much the same. We have tweaked the iconography just to give it a much more modern look and feel, and we've also introduced better navigation for you with visual indicators such as the highlighted elements of the global navigation bar, as you can see down the bottom. Alongside that little piece of UI update, we've also introduced an email sidebar indicator. So when you're within the email design, there's no need to wait until selecting the send option in order to know which parts of your process still require attention. You get the ticks for when you have completed a part, and you'll get an exclamation mark to say that that requires some more attention. Now, probably the largest part of 6.5, which should hopefully be of great interest to all of you, is the introduction of an events management module. So in the same way we have emails and forms, we have an events section introduced as well. So the difference we have is that currently events are part of a form, and then emails can be associated with that form, and that becomes the event. Now, from 6.5 onwards, forms become members of events, and the event becomes a container in which emails and other event-specific content sits. The general process itself should feel very familiar and similar to the way that you currently set up your forms. So you have your date, location, map, etc. With the location, you can now add a name and address of a venue as normal, but you could also include a URL if you are hosting a webinar, for example. The time zone here will default to your location setting. The maps, you can choose to drop in an image, paste the location from Google, or you could embed a map from Google as well, and there are steps within the UI that will tell you exactly how to do that. If I just step forward again now, this screen at the back there is the events management screen. Within events management, you have the option to obviously manage your attendees and your RSVP options. You also need to sort of set up your sign-up forms ahead of time as well. This front screen is our emails page, where we've kind of given you this grid view of your unsent emails, and then below that would be your grid view of your sent emails, so you can get a nice full picture of what emails you've got set up within your event, and forms will do very much the same thing. You also have the payments management as well, so you need to be able to enable that, set up the currency, set up the costs, specify the payment field within your event management tab. You have the contact field, so all the information is coming from your CRM folder. Additional attendees, so you might want to set those at a different price. You can discount, and then you can also manage the offline payments of that as well. And then finally, just there is the tokens, so you can set up event-specific tokens. So the same as any normal token screen, really, but these are then unique to that event and then accessible to anything that's a member of that event. And then kind of rounding all of that functionality off, you can clone a full event, so that's anything that sits within those events, including the tokens, including any images you may have that are specific to it. And hopefully that should now become probably where you, as a user, where you might spend the majority of your time. Now, we have introduced Google Analytics, so we're allowing data from Google Analytics to be brought back into the general reporting page. So for those that do have a Google Analytics account set up, you can add that to configuration and surface those Google reports alongside the eMarketing reports, so it saves you then needing to navigate away to check those figures. Additionally, we've also recently integrated with Google Tags as well. Now that's something that is available. We have some guidance around that, so if you wish to add Google Tags to your reporting and to your pages, etc., then please let us know. We have some information around that. Now, some additional features, and these aren't an exhaustive list as what else is going into 6.5, but just as a quick rundown, we have the ITS file content edit, so that's the ability to edit the content of the ITS Outlook calendar file when it's set up for an event, and that's just an additional piece of functionality really to coincide with the events management work that we've done. We also have the quick clone, so that's providing a pretty simple to follow pop-up wizard interface to quickly select the edit tokens and other elements associated with the cloned email, so that should significantly speed up and make more flexible that process. The folder to form auto actions, so this should speed up the form and additional field creation process by removing the need to manually create and then any additional field actions after selecting a folder for your form. We also have the marketing engagement star ratings. For those who currently use the marketing engagement scores, we've rejigged things to make it, I suppose, a more meaningful visual representation of the level of engagement based on clicks and opens. And in the future, this will also be weighted by acceptance of invites, the attendance of events and webinars as well. So it's just a much more digestible format. We also have paste from Word. So again, that's another feature that you should speed up the creation process by removing the need to manually reformat anything that's been pasted into the design pane. The form's audit history hopefully is reasonably self-explanatory, but it should make for a much more clearer auditing of your forms. And then finally at the bottom there, the litmus test status. So that is introducing a grid view, providing whether it's running, whether it's complete, whether it's in progress, etc. And as you can see at the bottom, this is all scheduled for April 2020. So I hope you're all as excited as we are about that arriving. Now, moving on to 6.6, excuse me. The first thing to draw your attention to is the introduction of events email automation. So, and this is actually a development that's come directly as requests from perhaps some of you that are even on this call. So this is the ability to set up emails automatically so that certain triggers will send those out depending on specific parameters. So for example, you can choose to set up all your event emails ahead of time, schedule them to be sent out automatically. Say if you have invitees that are yet to respond or those that are invited after the initial send, only they can then receive, say, the reminder email. So hopefully that then removes the need for you to manually trawl through those lists and before you resend any reminders. The Microsoft Graph integration. So as of the 13th of October 2020, Microsoft are stopping support and fully decommissioning the basic authentication for EWS to access Exchange Online. Excuse me. This integration will allow for OAuth authentication in Azure, so that bounce backs can continue to be processed. Now, if you are on-prem, don't worry, this will remain the same. But for those who are with the EWS Exchange Online, this is something for you to consider. But we are, as you can see at the top there, our plan is to release this in early Q3 this year, so it should be way ahead of when Microsoft stop that support. The multi-recipient confirmation emails, this should allow you to automatically keep your partners updated when their contact intends to be at an event. So when they accept an invite, the partner will be told as well. We also have the QR code cleansing, which should cut down the space taken up when each of your QR code is generated for each attendee. They can build up over time and it could hamper in performance. So we'll give you a tool to be able to delete anything where the date has passed. We'll also be introducing sponsor tokens. So that's essentially building out a email signature, sponsored email signature, but using one token where at the moment you'd have maybe multiple separate tokens for each piece of individual information. We are going to be introducing a collapsible email design sidebar. So we're aware that the real estate is actually quite scarce on that design pane. So we're offering the option to collapse and expand that left-hand sidebar to a set of icons. So it should open up and declutter that design screen. Quite a wordy one, this one, the design layout section autosave. Quite simply, this just saves you the need to scroll up and click save when you've dragged a new section in. And at the moment, I think you have to press save before you can click and edit anything. So we're going to remove the need to do that by introducing an autosave when you add a section. And finally, on that page, bit of an all-encompassing one is a series of improvements around labelling and navigation, with the aim to kind of help demystify the usability of the product for particularly new users. So we make the terminology that we use a little clearer to understand. For example, we're going to rename outlines the design layouts. We'll also be, reordering menus and button selections to make them more intuitive, and also much easier to follow. For example, the call to action buttons will be in a different colour. And we're going to provide extra information in the form of bubble pop-ups where required for that extra little bit of guidance. Now, moving on to the longer-term feature considerations. So this would nominally be things that we've considered for our 6.7 release, which would be probably in around Q1 or the start of Q2 2021. This is by no means a lockdown set of features, and it would actually be really helpful if you, after this session, once you've kind of thought about it and reviewed things, to give us your feedback really about where we should be taking the product after the 6.5 and 6.6 releases. So just a quick rundown so you're aware of what these things are on the screen. So the social media tokens, hopefully are reasonably self-explanatory. So it's just allowing tokens for that online content such as Twitter, LinkedIn, and just tracking those using the hyperlink tokens. Foreign language handling. So for those of you who do work in multi-language environments, the idea here is to set up your emails with language variations within one email sort of pane, and then you broadcast those with one single click, and it's then the preferences of the recipients that determine what language they receive, which obviously should hopefully speed things up for those who do work in multi-language offices. We also want to enhance as best we can the payment section, so that's around VAT in PayPal, pulling through net cost and VAT for a fuller view, and then additional improvements for the invoicing as well. So there's quite a bit we can do around payments. We also have the multiple reaction queues, so that removes the need to create multiple forms for a single event, where the event may be held simultaneously across locations or time zones. Additionally, and I suppose this makes up as a logical next step for events, is to bring in your social media postings onto our platform to say that you can broadcast those simultaneously as well when you're sending out your email broadcasts. Additionally, we have event attendance emails. So again, this is another logical next step on from our events management module. And that is obviously to provide the ability to send the event email to different people for different contacts, and then let them know when they've actually arrived at an event. Updating the snippets, so that's just giving greater visibility of the snippet being used before it's being added into the design. Selective event content cloning, so that is, again, building on our events management module. So it's having a little bit more of a granular selection process when you do clone that event. Perhaps you don't want the tokens, but you do want to bring in the images, etc., etc. And then lastly, at the bottom right there is, engagement-based sunsetting. So that essentially is, should save you time maintaining a good contact list by removing the need to manually look at past histories of people who never respond or accept those invites. So there's quite a lot for you to take in there. I'm available if you need me to clarify anything at a later date. But please do contact me if you have any questions, if you feel we're going in the right direction with these things. And obviously, if you feel that we're doing well and these are the things that you want to be seeing. So yeah, please drop me a line. And I'm now going to pass over to Simon, who's going to talk about the business development ecosystem.
Thank you, Adam. We're just playing musical chairs while I switch seats with Adam, so I've got control of the presentation. Hopefully, some of those features that we showed you there are going to appeal. Certainly something we've worked hard on with the assistance of people who've fed back to us what they'd like to see in the product. And we're particularly excited about the the new event entity. It's going to make people's lives who do a lot of event management significantly easier. But hopefully you'll also have seen that we've worked very hard to try and make the product easier to use and much more intuitive. But any feedback you have on any of those features or any of those functions, please let us know. I wanted to take 5 minutes with you, though, just to go through the rest of our ecosystem. Obviously, we're known best for the Tikit eMarketing product, which you all use, but there are other things that we do or other partner products that we integrate with that I thought it would be useful to go through today, just so you're aware of the direction we're going. Our marketing and BD ecosystem, this is not the best. Those of you who are designers, this is being redesigned, so please don't judge us on it. But there are elements of this ecosystem, all of which are aimed to make you better connected with your client base. The thing that says Tikit Connect at the top, of course, that's our own mid-market CRM system. You are, for the most part, using interaction. So in that instance, just mentally replace that with interaction. But the other things that we have in that ecosystem are IntraHive, which allows you to become better connected to deeper relationships. OnDemark, which is around making sure that your emails are delivered. Pitch Perfect, so that you can produce better pitch presentations with significantly more ease. And a new integration that we are bringing out with View, which is a client experience and client feedback management tool. So let's have a look at OnDemark first, because that's most related to eMarketing. You probably have significant investment in your organizations in protecting yourselves from phishing emails. So there'll be great boundary defenses against emails coming into the system that purport to be from somebody else or someone that you know, but are in fact a phishing email. It's very easy to fake the email address that an email is coming from, and that's great. But what's not happening probably is you're not looking at all of those emails that are being generated in your name going to your clients or suppliers. So what we're considering here really is the potential reputational damage that you might suffer by some external party forging an email on your behalf, sending it to one of your clients, and having that client potentially lose money by transferring funds to an incorrect account. What DMARC does, we'll just skip through, DMARC makes sure your message gets through by giving the recipient the confidence that the email actually came from you. So what actually happens when you get an email, or when your receiving email server gets an email, it will ask the domain that it comes from, in this instance tikit.com, whether or not it has, whether or not it's DMARC compliant. And if it isn't, then the receiving email server has to make the decision on its own whether to pass that email through. It means it will reduce the level of confidence the system has in that email coming from you, and it may well end up in junk mail, or it may end up somewhere else, or it may pass through one of these phishing emails. If you have DMARC, when it asks the Tikit domain, or your domain in this instance, whether or not there's any checks that it can do, then Tikit will reply back that says, look, check these two things. Does the email come from an address that we say is valid for sending emails? And is the email signed, digitally signed, by our domain? If it passes both of those tests, then it definitely came from us, and you can pass it through with full confidence. If it fails either one of those tests, then it didn't come from us, and you should throw it away. And that means that the chances of emails that you generate getting through to the end client are significantly enhanced, because the receiving email server knows that those emails came from you. OnDemark is the tool that allows you to simplify the process of getting to DMARC compliance, which is otherwise very difficult. So it's a nice graphical tool. It allows your IT department to sort all of that out without issue. And the difficulty with DMARC as a protocol is it's quite difficult to do without assistance, which is why only 10% of firms, 10% of law firms, have DMARC in place. IntraHive, on the other hand, may well be known to you, but it solves the fundamental problem that most people have with the CRM system, which is that no one wants to use it, or no one was prepared to put the effort in to use it. So what IntraHive does is a number of things. First of all, it gets contact data into the system by making it very easy to do via email. It prompts you at the end of the week or the end of a couple of days and say, look, these people who you've been in communication with are not in the CRM system at the moment. Should they be? And then it's a simple matter to push a button that says sync now. If that's too much trouble, then you can set up some rules that say automatically sync every email that meets these, or every contact that meets these criteria. So no attorney, no fee earner ever has to think too hard about getting contact data and activity data into the system. Once that data is in the system, then we build a relationship score between the two individuals so that we know our relationship now, how it was in the past, and whether it's getting stronger or weaker. And all of those relationships are summed up into a relationship capital score that's assigned to the company. So you then have a measure of whether you're getting closer to or further away from the company that you're trying to target. Very similar to our marketing engagement score, which tells you over time whether people are becoming more or less engaged with your marketing communication. So it provides a separate dimension to the overall relationship that you have with the target organisation. Are they engaged with our marketing comms? Do we have a good relationship with them? Of course, IntraHive also surfaces a whole bunch of relationships you probably didn't know you had. It'll tell you who has the strongest relationships so you can get those introductions going. And it will ping out a lot of that information and summary information from other systems to you prior to you having a meeting with anybody. If it detects a meeting in your diary with a matched contact, it'll give you a chunk of information automatically the day before the meeting so that you're well prepared, you know who to talk to before the meeting if you need to get any information. After the meeting, again, send you an email. What happened at the meeting? You reply to the email, and an activity gets created in interaction with that information in it. The single thing that it's most difficult to get people to do, get information that only you know back into the system because you've learned it at a meeting. Interface, as I say, is very simple. It allows you on a simple web interface to pick those things that you want to get into the CRM system, and with a big Sync Now button, get it in there. Pre-meeting prep, this shows you some of the information that's coming in from news, but also on there you'll find relationships, marketing activity, probably activity from the PMS, all of that sort of thing, everything you need to know. And there's your post-meeting capture. It's an email. People are familiar with responding to emails. It makes life very simple for you. Hopefully, as you're using those tools effectively, you're going to be asked to pitch for work. And again, sometimes the mechanics of getting a response to a pitch out there can be tricky, and this is where our Pitch Perfect relationship comes in. What Pitch Perfect does is allow you to create yourself a central database of assets for pitches. So bios, case studies, references, all of those sorts of things can be stored in one place, curated and kept up to date, so they can be used by anyone in the firm, either to create complex pitches, if they're being created maybe by the BD team, or very simple responses. So someone says, "Carl, can you send me some information on the team?" It would allow the attorney themselves to be able to draw that information out of the database and present it out in a format that is on brand and is well formatted and looks great, straight out to the potential client without any of the hunting around for information that usually goes on at those times. So it allows you to respond quickly and thus give that potential client a very good impression of A, the efficiency of the firm, but also the fact that all of that information is at their fingertips. Coming soon, something we're going to announce on or around the time of the LMA this year, or PSMG if you're in the UK. Client experience program, an inclusive client experience program, something that allows you to request information on how people have found the service you've provided at multiple points potentially during the transaction, and for you to have that information delivered to the people who have delivered that service so that they can respond, particularly to any negative feedback that might come in. It doesn't ask the client to fill in a complex survey. It's very simple, and it hands the control of that feedback to the person themselves and asks them what they want to tell you, not what you want to find out. So whatever was most important to them at the time, that's the thing that they're going to put down. It also allows you to get metrics, which can be summarized on a per individual, on a per department, or on a per firm basis. It's simple, it's cost effective, it's automatic, which means that people can't cherry pick the individuals that they go to for feedback. The aim is for it to be inclusive so that everyone gets, every client gets the feedback form, and that feedback comes back into the system to be dealt with. Provides an excellent mechanism for providing yet another measure of how close you are to the target firm, and also a mechanism for dealing with that feedback in order to turn those people who end up as detractors. One of the things it asks for is an NPS score. Turns detractors into promoters because of the way that you dealt with the issue that they raised with you. It lets you get information back in and feedback back in and deal with it before it becomes an issue, before it becomes a complaint or a formal complaint, before it hits a review site, before it hits social media. It places you back in control of the experience that your clients are having. And that's everything I wanted to cover.
Thanks, Simon. Just before I hand you over to Jason to talk about the cloud hosted environment, just a heads up, if you do have any questions on anything you've heard thus far or what Jason is about to take you through, there is a function within the WebEx there that allows you to write questions. They'll be picked up by the moderator. So please do use that function. And let us know your thoughts about anything, and we'll go through those at the end. So I'm going to now hand over to Jason Thorne.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So I just wanted to add in a little bit about something we've been working on recently. Some of you may already be aware that for several versions of eMarketing, we have now supported the hosting and the running of the eMarketing server infrastructure within an Azure cloud environment. That's something I'm not sure whether many of you, some of you, have been looking at already with your other infrastructure platform requirements. But eMarketing is something that we've had up and running within Azure specifically, although potentially it could run within other cloud service providers, for some time. What we're proposing now is that if you would like, it's something that potentially we could host for you within our Azure service. And what I mean by that, effectively, is we would take your eMarketing server infrastructure, we would take the EMS6 database, we would take the EMS server with all of its services and the reaction server, And we would host that for you, and effectively would deliver back to you the eMarketing application with all of the functionality that you know and you love in almost exactly the same way as you see it within an on-premise installation. So effectively to the end user, the experience would be exactly the same, apart from an initial login, which I'll show you in a second. Were we to host it on your behalf, your end users would really sort of see no difference. Okay, key benefits that would provide to you around us hosting the server infrastructure on your behalf would involve elements around the costs, I guess, and also just the headache. Looking after a server infrastructure environment, a common thing that I see time and time again, particularly when I'm doing upgrades, and particularly stuff that's happened recently with the end of life for the Windows Server 2008 platform. A lot of clients are actually sort of saying, right, we're going to upgrade, yes, and okay, we need now to also migrate to new server hosts because Microsoft is stopping support for this version of SQL Server, for this version of the Windows Server platform. Were we to take care of all of that for you, it's something that you wouldn't need to worry about. We would ensure that not just the server infrastructure, the underlying servers, the version of SQL Server, and also the version of eMarketing were all up to date on running on the latest version with the latest updates, running safely and securely within our environment. We would also look after elements around backups and disaster recovery. So obviously, if we're taking care of the database for you, there would be potentially additional costs depending on whether you wanted the data to be hosted at a particular location and the levels of disaster recovery that you might want. We would also take care of the security. We're currently undertaking penetration testing around our own live eMarketing server environment, which I'll show you in a second, is running within our Azure cloud. So we do use this technology internally. The only thing I would say about this, accessibility, absolutely. If you were to run, you may already be aware that the eMarketing, the UI, is delivered to you with version 6 as a web application. So you run it within a browser, Chrome being the optimal one. You're connecting to a URL, which is effectively an internal server where we're running all of the back-end stuff that delivers all the stuff that you see as the client. Were you to migrate either into your own Azure service or to request that Tikit take care of this for you, the principle would still be the same. You would still run a browser at your end on your client PC, and you would still connect to a URL. The difference would be the URL would be one of our servers hosted within our Azure service, and effectively just delivering back to you the same UI, the same interface that you're familiar with. The CRM side of things, the interaction side of things, I would imagine that would still be up to you. That would still be something that you would want to host yourselves, either on your own in-premise installation or potentially within a cloud, your own sort of cloud environment. The SMTP server and the exchange elements, all of that sort of stuff would all still be looked after by yourselves, but we would take care of everything else relating to eMarketing. So all of the headache that comes along with looking after and having to keep the systems up to date and worrying about if it goes wrong, how you're going to recover it, that's something that Tikit would take care of for you. There would be an initial setup cost and obviously a pricing model change from the current on-prem that you're probably familiar with to more of a subscription to a service as the software. If that's something you'd be interested in, please let us know, or maybe talk to your account manager. If you can either contact Adam or maybe speak specifically to your account manager. I'll just give you a very brief sort of view of what it would look like. So the only real difference, this is a URL to our live system. Don't worry, Simon, I've locked everything down. So this is what you would see. This is me connecting as a client to a hosted eMarketing system situated within an Azure cloud. All of the back-end infrastructure is all running away on the latest technology, running at optimum performance, and is all backed up and taken care of for you. All you need to worry about is logging in, providing a login. Let me just do that very quickly, so I haven't done it on this PC. Tikit.com. tikit@readability.com, so you provide your email address. There obviously is a little bit more to it than I'm sort of showing you here. There is a requirement for you actually to provide your own Active Directory within Azure, but I can help you with all of that as part of the implementation. Once you log in, you give it your password. It's federated, so it should connect with your AD type accounts. That's my password. Oh no, sorry, that's my mistake. That's it. And once you get in, there it is. There's eMarketing running in a cloud, delivered to you almost as a piece of software from the cloud, from a hosted environment. And as you see, when I get in, the interface is exactly the same. Apart from that initial login, once I get in, there we go. There we go. You can see there the design is all the same, and if I preview, there we go. Okay, let us know if you have any questions or you need any more information.
Thanks, Jason. Before I open it up for questions, if anyone does have any questions, just a few kind of things to kind of finish off with. So my email, if you do want to contact me, is adam.michie, that's M-I-C-H-I-E, @tikit.com. Myself and Simon are going to be at the LMA next month, so we'll have a nice big stand there. You probably won't be able to miss it. We'll be wearing bright orange shirts, so please do come and find us and make fun of our shirts, but also engage with us and give us your ideas and feedback. It'd be really, really good to speak to you. For those who received the newsletter recently, please give us your feedback on that. And if you didn't receive the newsletter but you'd like to, please drop me a line. Also, feedback on this session. I know it's given the kind of broad spread of clients all around the world. There's about 12 different time zones being taken into account here. It's kind of hard to get you all into one room at the same time, but it's you know, your feedback is absolutely vital for us. So you know what you like about this session, what you want to hear more of, and then lastly, user voice. So I think I mentioned it within the newsletter, but we have a tool which we will be at some point embedding into the product itself, which allows you to leave feedback, give us ideas, see other people's ideas and upvote them and give your thoughts on them. For those of you who haven't received an invite for user voice to be able to start getting engaged within that community, please contact me and I can send you an invite. The progression and the improvements that we have within eMarketing are as much down to your feedback and ideas as they are ours here at Tikit as well. So it really is a kind of a team effort. So with that being said, and I hope I just received a message there from Paul saying he couldn't see something a moment ago. I hope I haven't been talking to nobody for the last 50 minutes. If you do have questions, I'm going to hand it back over to the moderator. If he has seen them, if he could read those out.
Yeah, the comments were just very recently about the application.
How do you mean?
We didn't see anything when showing the actual system. That was about 3 minutes ago.
That will be because of the nature of the WebEx.
Apologies, everybody.
Yeah.
Did you show that on your?
No. So the way it works with WebEx is you get to choose which screen you share. So I've shared this screen. So when Jason very kindly went off and did the whole demo into his product, you'd have just been sat watching the slideshow. So apologies for that. But what you did miss was absolutely amazing. I can assure you of that.
We're going to have him beaten later, don't worry.
Were there any further questions?
How are we notified about software upgrades?
So you will receive an email from me once we release. So that whether that's a full release or a point release, I will send an email out to all eMarketing users who are on our contacts list. If you don't receive that email, please do let me know and I'll put you in to make sure you get that. If you then decide you wish to upgrade to that version, then either contact me or contact your account manager. and they will get you in touch with somebody like Jason, who can then undertake a kind of scoping exercise and then progress and do that work. Is there any other questions?
And just from Paul Nash, can you send over this recording as well?
Yep, we should get that in the next 24 hours or so, Paul. So we'll be able to share that with you. So, and if you need the slide deck or anything, just drop me a line. You've got my email address, so please do. Any last-minute questions? No? If not, many thanks for joining today. I know for some of you it's a late one, or in some instances an early one. So thanks for your time, thanks for your patience, and do drop me a line if you have anything further to speak about. I'll be happy to receive it. So have a good day or have a good night wherever you are.
So thank you to Adam, everybody. That concludes your call for today. You may now all disconnect. Thank you for joining and have a very good day.